chairman of the National Disaster Mitigation Council of St. Kitts and Nevis, Attorney General Vincent Byron Jr., said he is hoping that the parliamentary opposition leader and his team will meet with the National COVID-19 Task Force on the issue of vaccinations. Leader of the parliamentary opposition, Dr. Denzel Douglas, previously criticized the government's handling of the vaccination rollout and had indicated his own delay in taking the vaccine.
I am interacting with hundreds of people who are fearful and anxious about the safety of vaccination and demand urgent but reliable answers. But instead of providing the population with helpful answers, Dr. Harris and his administration have acted in bad faith. They openly refused to cooperate. As a member of parliament and as leader of the parliamentary opposition, my conscience would not permit me to secure myself at the expense of my people. And so while I support vaccination as a public health good, I totally reject the politics of divisiveness that Prime Minister Harris is promoting, especially during these emotionally tough and economically difficult times.
According to Attorney General Byron, a meeting with Dr. Douglas and his team this week was rescheduled on request of Dr. Douglas to the 23rd March. Appearing on Leadership Matters, Byron was responding to a query on whether the political opposition was doing enough to encourage persons to be vaccinated against COVID-19.
We are hoping that they will attend the task force and meet with the task force next week, Tuesday. It's important to understand that when we speak about population immunity, herd immunity, the numbers from the last census would be instructive, because at the last census we had a population of 47,195 individuals. Now, Dr. Wilkerson will tell you that the vaccine will only be administered to those 18 and above. And we have identified the population 18 and above to be about 33,000 to 34,000 individuals, which means that when we want to reach herd immunity, we have to vaccinate 33 to 34,000 individuals. In other words, all of the adults in our society, we should be aiming to vaccinate. And so when the Prime Minister speaks about all of society, when Dr. Wilkerson speaks of all of society, we have to have everyone on board. And so we are hoping next week, Tuesday, at the National COVID Task Force, that we involve those who have leadership positions in the opposition to come and to share their views with us, and for them to hear the medical fraternity, and we can exchange. Because all of us in St. Kitts and Nevis are in this together.
According to the Attorney General, it is important that everyone is on board in the fight against the COVID-19 pandemic. Glenn Barth, SKN Newsline. Citizens and residents in member countries of the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union will soon be using a digital version of the Eastern Caribbean dollar. Launch of the digital currency under development for the past 2 years will be 31st March 2021, ECCB Governor Timothy Antoine announced. He emphasized that the future of the EC dollar is digital.
The moment we've been anticipating will soon be here. I speak of the public rollout of ECCB's digital currency, Dcash. Today, I am very pleased to announce that Dcash will go live on March 31st, 2021. I repeat, Dcash will go live on March 31st, 2021. Dcash is safer, it is faster, and cheaper. Get on board. Get ready. Now. And never forget that the future of the EC dollar is digital. So let's make history together.
According to the central bank, consumers will access Dcash, as it is called, through the official app called Dcash Wallet to conduct financial transactions using smart devices. The digital currency services will be available from participating commercial banks, credit unions, and other authorized institutions. Dcash will be available first in Antigua and Barbuda, Grenada, St. Lucia, as well as in St. Kitts and Nevis. Glenn Bart, SKN Newsline. The issues surrounding the operation of buses at the East Bus Line Terminal involve support and criticism by the general public on the actions of the East Line bus drivers. Speaking with SKN Newsline just before the protests, Elba President Jefferson Pemberton talked about the criticism persons have been expressing about their needs, as well as the service on the East Bus Line route.
No, we are abiding citizens, and it seems as though now to obey the law is not right. To break the law is okay, and that is what is happening outside the terminal. So we here who are trying to be honest, to apply our trade, and to abide by the law. We have been like kicked in a corner. But those who are not abiding by the law, it seems as though they are saying, hip, continue to do what you're doing. And to us, that is not right. There's a spot at the West Side Terminal for drop off and pick up. Now the influx of buses that are there is a lot more than at the east. So what they are saying down there, they don't have a place where they come up here and park the West Side to solicit passengers. So we are saying, okay, drop off and pick up and move on. But instead of that, they will park down there, stay down there, pick up, and still pick up passengers on their way home, which we find is unfair. The persons who are operating from here should be able to wait on the passengers who are coming here, get a full trip, and then go to the country.
It is understood that representatives of the association were able to meet with the cabinet and several issues were raised, including the possibility of providing shuttle services between the east and the west terminals. Glenn Bart, SKN Newsline.
The Sugar Boys will be competing in 2 World Cup qualifiers during the FIFA international break from March 21st to March 30th. The first match will be on March 24th in the Dominican Republic against Puerto Rico, and the second on March 27th against the Bahamas in that country. General Secretary of the SKNFA, Stanley Jacobs, said due to COVID-19 restrictions, the home matches in St. Kitts and Nevis had to be moved to the Dominican Republic, as that country has more relaxed COVID measures. The same goes for the Bahamas, hence why the matches are being held in both countries.
St. Kitts and Nevis is scheduled to play 2 matches in the upcoming World Cup qualifying window. St. Kitts and Nevis is scheduled to play versus Puerto Rico on March 24th, and that match will take place in the Dominican Republic, and that will be the St. Kitts and Nevis home match, will take place in the Dominican Republic on the 24th of March. And then on the 27th of March, St. Kitts will play its away match in the Bahamas versus the Bahamas. This decision was made by the St. Kitts Nevis Football Association to ensure that the senior men's team has the best possible opportunity to win these 2 games, and taking into consideration everything that is going on, not just the COVID-19 restrictions, but also having our best players available.
Mr. Jacobs noted that there will be sufficient testing of the players and members of the technical team that will be traveling to these matches.
And so we look forward to those matches. It has been a long planning process, taking into consideration the COVID-19 protocols and the strict COVID-19 protocols of the FIFA return to football protocol, ensuring that there is continuous testing from the point of departure from the home country, testing prior to the match, testing after the match, and testing again prior to return to home country. There's a very strict schedule. At the SKNFA, we are in the process of putting together our COVID-19 risk assessment and also our COVID-19 risk mitigation strategy. And this is the strategy that the national team will employ as it compete in these 2 very important matches.
The SKNFA has been working closely with CONCACAF and FIFA to ensure that the hosting of the matches adheres to the FIFA international match protocols. A 23-man squad for St. Kitts and Nevis has been released. These are Julani Archibald, Zakis Smith, Clifford Samuel, Lois Maynard, Andre Burley, Raheem Francis, Dennis Fleming, Ordell Fleming, Ezric Nichols, Raheem Hanley, Gerard Williams, Theo Wharton, Raheem Summersall, Johannes Mitchum, Romain Sawyers, Harrison Panayutu, Tishan Hanley, Omari Sterling James, Vince Roy Nelson, Kimari Rogers, Rowan Liebert, Keith Roy Freeman, and Tahir Hanley. Head coaches Leo Nieva, assistant coach George Isaac, and goalkeeper coach Gerhard Benthin. Trainer Kenneth Douglas, physio Alistair James, kitsmen Leroy Sweeney and Roger Hendricks, Dr. Carlton Williams, manager Jamira Claxton, and head of delegation Don Grant. Elliott's Funeral Parlor is the first licensed embalmer in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. We have a friendly and professional staff. At Elliott's Funeral Parlor, we offer a wide range of packages from $6,500, homegoing service at chapel, locally made caskets, tailoring of outfit for deceased of your choice, wake, overnight with slideshow, funeral, death announcement, obituary, booklets, family pin-ons, memorial books, preparation of funeral arrangements, wreath, fresh and artificial, caskets, live streaming, vaults, tombstone, grave marker, international shipping, import and export, mounted oversized ultimate 1,000 pounds body lift, 24 hours removal and transportation services, walk-in refrigerator unit for temperature-controlled body storage, prep room with embalming station, and an assortment of embalming fluids and accessories, a mortician, cosmetologist, or restorative makeup artist. For further information, call 469-3298, 664-2007, or 660-0186. Elliott's Funeral Parlor in Gingerland, Nevis, dedicated to those we serve. Auto Plus Car Wash, located on the College Street Gut, Bastyr, St. Kitts. Bring your car to Auto Plus Car Wash to remove water stains, wiper marks. Get your doors, roof panel cleaned, seat floor mats, buffing, headlights, and engine wash. You get quality service at the best price at Auto Plus Car Wash. They really care for your car. Call 765-5140 or visit them on the College Street Gut, Bastyr, St. Kitts. Auto Plus Car Wash, where the service is number one.
Like to play, love food. Yes, he used to love his food. He used to love his mom's food.
Letitia Reeder recounting her earliest memories of her brother Valric Baker. To the world, he was Valric, but to those closest to him, he was just Danny.
There was this guy he liked me and he was like trolling me and everything. So he was very protective, what kind of person that I am. And he ended up getting into a fight because of me. So he didn't tell anyone that it was me that caused the fight.
Originally from Jamaica, Baker moved to Antigua at the age of 9 to live with his mother, who had already been residing in the country for some time.
He used to be very active. He joined the cadets when he was going to Ganville. He joined the cadet from then. And from then, he always had the passion to join the army.
Baker, however, began to have second thoughts as training grew more arduous.
Auntie Nama talked to him and said, Danny, you have to stay in the army. You have to stay in the army. No matter what training, his training soon over. And he went through his training and he graduated.
Reeder says her brother served for over a decade before retiring in 2019. The grieving sister tells ABS, Baker felt he was no longer able to keep up with the strict regimen following an accident 5 years prior. Baker, she says, remained active even after retirement, never losing his love for exercise. In February, however, Baker's health would take a turn for the worse.
So my mom called me and tell me, say, Sophia, Danny's in the hospital with COVID. His blood pressure was good, everything was good. And like when he was up there, he tell me, say, his fever was okay.
Baker's health condition progressively began to worsen.
He caught a pneumonia in his lungs, and he has his kidneys going.
On March 11, she received the one phone call she was dreading.
The doctor called me and asked me about Valric Baker, if he has a wife, and I said no, and I like asking myself why they asking me that. They normally do not ask that. They would normally ask if this right, and they said, okay, is you the one that responds for Valric Baker? I tell him yes. I'm his sister, yes, I'm Letitia Reader. So they said, okay, he's not doing well, I need to come up to the hospital now.
Baker passed away that morning at 34 years old. For the family, the road to coming to terms with his death has been long.
And we were talking about, him always in the truck, and he always beeping and waving, he can't open the windows or the doors. So, that's going to be the hardest thing for me, like seeing the truck and not able to see him.
Nevertheless, they choose to press on and remember the father of two as energetic and jovial.
I am Uncle Danny Valric Baker nephew. He was a good uncle.
Rakib Aparisi reporting for ABS News.
A digital vaccine passport. What does this mean for the future of travel? British Airways, which services one of St. Lucia's largest source markets, the UK, has announced the rollout of an app-based travel pass, touted as an easier way for passengers to prove they are safe to travel, having been vaccinated against COVID-19. Now, Prime Minister Alan Chasney says St. Lucia has been readying itself to get on board with the vaccine passport movement.
Government Modernization Unit has already been working with the Ministry of Health for the last 3 weeks on creating an electronic version. So we started off with, as you know, a manual implementation and rollout of the vaccination. I'm hoping that by next week the electronic version will be done. So we will manually update the database, and it will produce an electronic file for you that you'll access online, but certainly that you can also put into your iPhone or when you're traveling, that would give you an electronic record of your vaccination.
But what of the voluntary rollout of the vaccine? How will this impact persons who are desirous of travel but have opted out of accepting the vaccine?
It was just facilitating for those persons who do want to have it. And many persons who are going to travel are realizing that it is going to be a requirement to be able to travel. Certainly it would be much easier to travel with a vaccine than not traveling without a vaccine. We certainly want to make sure as a government that we're facilitating that process.
But does the island have a say as to whether citizens from St. Lucia will give into accepting vaccination passports as a means of travel in the future? According to Minister for Economic Development, Guy Joseph, St. Lucia will comply with the decisions taken by leading nations and global health agencies.
If you see the discussions that are taking place on the international arena about a COVID-certified passport or something to show that if you're going to travel internationally, that you can present your COVID certificate to show that you have been properly vaccinated. The world is not very clear as yet. The officials, they are not very clear as to which direction this is going to go. But I think within the next month or two, we should get a much clearer direction. Because remember, we are part of the global response to COVID. You have PAHO, you have the CDC, you have the leading countries, you have WHO. These are the people who would set what the agenda is that the rest of the world would follow.
For its part, the World Health Organization has cautioned against vaccine passports for international travel for numerous reasons, including ethical considerations surrounding equitable distribution of the vaccine globally and the length of immunity provided by licensed COVID-19 vaccines. Solange Alfred, HTS News Force.
On a sunny Parisian morning, Patrick Job walks his dog. Patrick has recently been vaccinated and has the badge to prove it. But he would welcome something more official.
A COVID-19 health pass would allow us to travel, to get back a little bit of freedom.
By June, those wishes will be a reality because the European Commission plans a digital green pass, which all EU residents would have on a smartphone, proving they have either been vaccinated, recently recovered from COVID, or had a negative test.
With this digital certificate, we aim to help member states reinstate the freedom of movement in a safe, responsible and trusted manner.
But for some EU leaders, that goes neither far nor fast enough.
We don't want to wait for implementation by the EU. Rather, we'll take the first steps on the national level. The health minister will give a news conference on Thursday outlining the necessary legal basis to introduce green certificates in Austria as early as April.
Many in the tourism industry welcome the EU proposal.
A vaccine certificate is essential to make travel easier, and it's important that it's digital, because only a digital certificate makes it easier to check in at airports. It's no good if there's big queues and lots of bits of paper.
On the flip side, the World Health Organization is urging caution.
The requirement for certification of vaccination as a requirement for international travel is not justified, as vaccination is not widely enough available and is inequitably distributed throughout the world.
Having a certificate on a smartphone is clearly going to transform the way people travel across the EU. But in order to work as a proof of vaccination, the person must first have been vaccinated. And so far, at least, comparatively few Europeans have been. Dominic Kane, Al Jazeera, Berlin.
Well, let's get more on this now from Thomas Lohninger. He's Executive Director of Epicenter Works. That's a digital rights organisation. And he joins us by Skype from Vienna. Good to have you with us on the programme. Would you say in principle that these passports are a good idea?
Thanks for having me. So it's a very complicated question because ultimately, I think when it comes to international travel, such a document already exists in the form of the WHO yellow immunization passport, the vaccination passport that has been around for decades, which is internationally recognized and very cheap to roll out. And certainly the EU wants to establish some form of digital program here. But the main argument that we would like to introduce is that this is not just for international travel. You can already see with the name, which is the same as in Israel, that certainly some member states will use this system to also open up society and, for example, give privileges to people that are vaccinated, that had the disease or that recently have been tested.
Well, that's going to happen anyway, you could argue, whether the government sanctions it or not. There's a well-known case of a plumbing chain in the UK that have refused to hire anyone unless they can prove they've been vaccinated. In terms of, so it's not necessarily a digital issue, it could also be a moral one, but one to which there is no answer to the question. You mentioned that WHO yellow passport. Do you think even reverting to that would work? Because you do have states that are refusing to accept travellers who haven't been vaccinated with a specific vaccine.
Of course, you're right. And in international travel, we had those systems for many, many years. And you could even increase the security of the yellow WHO vaccination passport with holographic stickers for the COVID-19 vaccinations. Those could even have the name of the person engraved that has been vaccinated. So there are ways to build on a truly international system. But if we really want to do this digital, and I can only speak to the privacy aspects of the systems. I think there's a wider debate to be had whether we have the medical evidence for such a system, whether it's ethically what we want as a society. But purely speaking from a privacy perspective, it is possible to roll out such a system without many negative side effects for the privacy of people, because it's not just the fact that you have your own health information in that system. If we really use this for every restaurant, for every museum, for every hairdresser that you go to, then of course also the information about the movement of people could be collected in the wrong architecture of that system.
So do you think this is just a technical question for the European Union then to be able to protect against privacy breaches? Because at the end of the day, if you're asking people if they've had a vaccine, I mean, they're going to that is a breach of privacy because you're giving up information about your health status. Surely there's nothing really you can do to counteract that. So are you saying this is purely on the nuts and bolts of how the EU roll this out and put together the digital infrastructure? Or do you think the privacy question is one which should nix the entire thing?
I think you have to strike a balance here. Ultimately, the EU had the experience last year of being late to the party when it comes to contact tracing applications because it was more Apple and Google that sets a standard than the European Union. And now they want to be early. Now they want to get it right. And the current proposal that the EU has announced today is definitely going in the right direction. It's better on privacy than the solutions we've seen in Germany and in Austria. But it's really about the details. And sadly, we have not seen the details today. Those are left for delegated acts from the European Commission. Right now, we've only seen a framework from the EU that's solely about the freedom of movement from people, and it's solely left to the member states on deciding how those vaccination or immunization passports are used in other parts of society. And those uses will also need national legislation.
OK, so lots of details still to be fine-tuned there. Great to get your input. Thank you so much. Thomas Lohninger there joining us from Vienna.
The first call came on Tuesday evening, local time. There'd been a shooting north of Atlanta at Young's Asian Massage Parlour. Then, an hour later, another, this time in Atlanta at Gold Spa. As police responded, a third call came in, reporting gunfire from across the road at aromatherapy spa. The crime scenes were all massage parlours, and the majority of the victims were women of Asian descent.
They're really nice girls. They just do great massages. They do great massages over here, so it's just unfortunate.
They had shot 3 ladies at in front of the massage, well, not in front of the massage, but at the massage building, and that he had gotten also shot, but he hadn't passed away or anything. He got sent. He's in the hospital.
Police have arrested a 21-year-old and charged him with killing 8 people. They're investigating to see if the shooter was specifically targeting Asian Americans, which would make it a hate crime and increase the charges. South Korea's foreign minister confirmed that 4 of the victims were of Korean descent.
Nothing's going to be ruled out. We're conducting a multiple homicide investigation. So wherever the evidence leads us, that's where the investigators will go.
Extreme priority. I'm here. You got a lot of the command staff, Zone 2 commander, so it is extreme priority for us.
Crimes targeting Asian Americans have risen dramatically since the beginning of the coronavirus pandemic. Former President Donald Trump controversially called it the China virus. President Joe Biden addressed the attacks in a speech last week.
Vicious hate crimes against Asian Americans who've been attacked, harassed, blamed, and scapegoated. They're forced to live in fear for their lives just walking down streets in America. It's wrong, it's un-American, and it must stop.
A report by the organisation Stop AAPI Hate detailed 3,800 attacks against Asian Americans in the last 12 months. More than half were against people of Chinese or Korean descent. Now, after what happened in Georgia, it's clear more needs to be done to prevent attacks like these. Charlotte Bellis, Al Jazeera.
The SKN Newsline website now offers you more news. Log on to www.sknnewsline.com for local, regional, and international news. You can also watch the latest newscast and keep abreast with news in sports, all from sknnewsline.com. That's www.sknnewsline.com. News at your fingertips.
Stay abreast with news on St. Martin with SMN News. Visit www.smn-news.com for up-to-date news, scoops, opinions, and hard-hitting facts. SMN News, we tell it like it is. Visit our website www.smn-news.com.
It's the new and improved SKN Newsline Android mobile app. With the SKN Newsline app, you can watch your news reports, the SKN Newsline newscast, sports, special features, and so much more. You can also send us a WhatsApp or call us directly. Go in the Google Play Store, search SKN Newsline, and download the app today. The SKN Newsline mobile app. News on the go.